Hey dolls, welcome to the StarrStruck interview with me, Adam Starr, and today I'm talking to somebody who I'm so excited to speak to, the triple threat herself, Sally Ann Triplett. She has done some incredible shows, plays, musicals, Broadway, West End, TV. She was on the TV once, yeah, and I'll tell you why in a bit. She's done some incredible musicals, plays, new musicals, revivals. She's done it all. She's been on the Eurovision Song Contest not once, but twice. She is a very, very talented human being, and I cannot wait to chat to her. I am very excited, as people who know me and know how much I adore Sally. So we're going to wait for her to join, and then we're going to chat away. So we'll just wait for her to join. I hope everybody is well and looking after themselves. Remember last time we did one, it was my room was a mess. Well, we've got the painting on and we've got the wallpaper on, we've got the lay. Sally has joined the conversation, so I'm going to request to chat to her. This should be easy, Sally. You can accept. Waiting, Sally. She's done it!
Amazingness!
How are you? I'm just turning off my computer for the
I'm
Wi-Fi.
so thrilled with myself. I'm just making sure I...
Find your light. Sally Ann Triplett, how the devil are you?
I'm all right. I'm all right. Here I am in North London with me 90-year-old mum and my daughter, and we're just, my husband's in New York packing up our apartment, and I'm, walk up to Sainsbury's and back. It's just, but this is, doing things like this is like what's keeping me going. I did a little reading on Sunday with the lovely Arlene Phillips, and it's just, even if it's through the airwaves, it's nice to just see people read a bit of script, put a bit of, lippy on, and yeah, it's madness, but we're getting there. I think we can see a bit of a light. I hope so.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And what I loved is the little video creator. You got so much love, and you are so loved, Sally Ann Triplett. Let's go straight for it. Sally, what was the first show that you ever saw growing up?
So it might be hard to believe, but I didn't watch a lot of musicals at the theatre. Firstly, we couldn't really afford it. So this is very, very showbiz. But the first thing I ever saw live was at the London Palladium, and it was I sat in the back row with my mum, and it was Ethel Merman. Yeah, literally, like, excuse me.
Wow.
And my mum, because my mum could see in me that that I had, I don't know, I loved it. I had potential, whatever. I loved it. I just never stopped moving around the house. I was always dancing, always singing, always acting the fool.
Mums just know.
Yeah, exactly. But she knew that I had to sit down and watch when there was an MGM film and when there was a Betty Davis film on. We didn't have a video, there was nothing like that. So she was, because of her, that I saw all these things. And she saw that Ethel Merman was playing the Palladium, and she booked us 2 tickets. And she didn't have a microphone, and she was like... And then the other thing that I remember vividly, my dad worked at the Grosvenor House, the big hotels like the Grosvenor, the Dorchester, Hyde Park, the Connaught Rooms. And he used to, serve the royal family, and he was very, very up at the top in terms of that world. And one night he rang my mum about 6 o'clock, and he said, "Get the girls, my sister and I, get the girls, come down to the Grosvenor now." So my mum, we got on the Northern Line, and we were there in about an hour, and we sat up at the top of the great room in the Grosvenor, and we watched Sammy Davis Jr., which is another one of those things that, and I can remember him singing Mr. Bojangles. It was incredible. But in terms of musicals, my dad was in the film of Oliver. He was an extra worker for 40 years. So musicals were always a big part of my life. But for me, again, probably hard to understand, but for me, because I've done so many musicals, it was more about performing. It was more about just being in the room, and whatever it was, I was going to be part of. I was going to be part of something, and I was going to be with other people that liked doing what I liked to do. So I'm so fortunate to have done all these musicals, but really it could have gone in, like I really thought I was going to be a ballet dancer. That's what I just thought that was my, my calling. And it turned out that, absolutely no way would I have been good enough. I didn't have the right body shape and all this. And then I started to sing, and I found out that I did that.
First of all, no wonder you are who you are, with gorgeous parents like that. For your dad to have to know how special this was going to be with Sammy Davis Jr., to ring your mum and just go, stop what you're doing. It's a moment in time. It's just that's such a beautiful story. And Sally, when was the first time that you held a room? You say that you wanted to be in the room, but when you were a child or at school, or was it like at a family party that you held someone's attention?
I remember it, actually. I remember it vividly, and I wasn't that old. I was probably about 7 or 8. And I knew I loved dancing, and I knew I loved performing. What that was, I didn't know, because you have to remember at the time, we didn't have video recorders. Mm-hmm. There was only BBC One and BBC Two and ITV. So the only kind of thing I had that I could relate it to was Fame, was the TV series Fame.
Yeah.
The only thing that I thought, this looks like it's my world. So I started dancing when I was about 2.5, and it was literally around the corner, and I used to go there, and my teachers were unbelievable. They were like the best teachers I've ever had. So strict, but gave you encouragement and gave you strength. And anyway, every 3 years we would do a show, and they would hire like a West End theatre. They did it properly. We had amazing costumes. All the mums had to make the costumes. And I remember we were doing, really not PC now, of course, but we were doing like a black and white minstrels segment in the show.
Yeah.
It was the only part in the show where we were going to sing. So we were singing, we were learning, we were learning a song. I can't remember what it was. I think it was Watch Them Shuffling Along or something. And we'd all had to learn it at home. And then we all sat on the floor in our ballet tights and everything, and we all started to sing. And I was singing, and because my voice was always been quite loud, I could never really sort of hear the room. I have to really tell myself to be quiet. I suddenly realized that no one was singing, and everyone in the room was just staring at me. And I remember I vividly remember that was the moment where I thought, I don't know what they're looking at, but is it just because I'm loud? But then I know now that they were all kind of taken aback by it, So
wow.
yeah, it was that.
And then, full circle, Jolson. There's links everywhere, babes, links everywhere.
Yeah, well, again, not PC, but Jolson was my, the thing about Jolson, for all the badness of which I learned later when I did the show Jolson with Brian Conley, and where I met my husband. The thing about Jolson for me was his energy. And when I was little, the first time I ever sat up on my own in my mum and dad's house, that everyone had gone to bed, and I was kind of allowed to be up on my own for some reason. I flipped on the telly, and the jazz singer was on, and I mean the black and white version of the jazz. And I sat there and I watched the whole thing, and I didn't really know why at the time, but I couldn't stop crying. And I know now that it was because I knew that I felt like him. There was something about what he did that I felt. Yeah. And I couldn't express it in words, but I knew that I wanted to do what, I didn't know if it was singing, I didn't know if it was dancing, I didn't know what it was, but it was performing, and it was his energy. So he was my hero. And then I ended up playing Ruby Keeler, actually what you just said, full circle.
Incredible. Sally, what was your first professional job?
My first sort of professional job was riding elephants in a circus. Yep. So I used to
Wow.
get stage, I mean the stage newspaper, if people can see.
Yeah, the stage, yeah.
And at the back of the stage, you know, in those days, there were lots and lots of ads. There used to be big ads for like when Miss Saigon first came. You know, there'd be like Miss Saigon, Cameron's new exciting show, dancers wanted, and all these ads would be in the back of the stage. Anyway, when you flipped it over, there were these smaller ads, and one of them was dancers required for Christmas show in Birmingham, equity card provided. So provisional equity card provided. And back then you
Wow.
had to have a provisional in order to work. You couldn't work unless you had a provisional. It
Yeah.
like just like round and round in circles. So I went for this audition, amazingly got the job, ended up riding elephants in a circus and doing a bit of Smurf dancing as well. And at the end, the guy that was Rex Gray, who was like choreographed it and whose show it was, I remember running after him and going, Mr. Gray, you said you'd given me my provisional. And he just went, no, darling, I can't do that. Who told you? You know, it was like I did this whole job.
Oh.
But then my next professional job, which helped me get my provisional, I was still at college, and that was the Eurovision Song Contest. So I was 17, and then I think I might have turned 18 just after it or something. But I was still at college, and I represented the UK on the Saturday evening in The Hague. And on Monday morning, I was back at college doing my 9:30 Megiddo jazz class.
One of the shows that I mean you're familiar with is, you know, Follies, the incredible production of Follies at the Shaftesbury Theatre. That I mean it's iconic. There's little clips on YouTube, and a certain person who shall remain nameless, who you'll probably guess, said that you had a very quick costume change in a broom cupboard.
I
And
did.
whilst you were having your mic changed, what did you used to do, Sally?
This is Murray, isn't it?
Yeah.
What did I used to do? I thought this was going to another story, which you will also love. What did I used to do?
You just sit on his head.
Did I? Oh, I had to sit on his head. I had to sit on Murray's head so I could get changed. That was the only thing that we had.
Yeah, there you go.
I have another Follies story.
Go for it.
So I was in the original Follies, and then I left to do a show called Carrie on Broadway, which lasted for like 6 months, the whole thing. After that closed, the infamous story of Carrie, I went back into Follies and I played the part that I had been understudying. And joined to play young Sally opposite me was Jenna Russell. So that's where Jenna and I met for the first time. And we had this quick change at one point in the show, and there was Jenna and I and Dursley McClendon, God bless his soul, and Anthony Barclay and Murray was there, and he helped the four of us change. And then we were at the World's Fair. It's the World's Fair. Oh, no, there was this little scene. And Jenna stayed on with Dursley, and Auntie and I used to go off. So it was a tiny little scene. Murray said to me at the beginning of the show, he said, Sal, your costume for World's Fair didn't come back from the dry cleaners. But anyway, don't worry about it. I've organised something. You don't worry, it's there. Anyway, we got to the side of the stage, put our costumes on, and Jenna looked at me and she went, what are you wearing? What are you wearing? I said, I don't, and there was no mirror. So all I could do was look down at myself. She said, Sal, you look special needs, or something like that. She's like, you look like you need help, like this. And like, it was all so tight, and the blouse was tight, and the trousers were short, and it was so funny. And none of us could speak a word. It was like, the world's yeah.
But being in the West End and being in London at that time, as we spoke about before, was a particularly hard time. And with It's a Sin that's on at the moment, it's shown how much like the West End and the actors rallied round and did concerts and created such support for this. I mean, this pandemic that people were just going, no, it's a gay disease.
It doesn't affect us, so
No.
it's something that never enter our lives, so we don't need to worry about it. Yeah.
So being in that situation and doing, not to be negative, but what were all the good things that you did, the concerts you did and the midnight matinees? Was there a real sense of community at that time?
I mean, I watched It's a Sin, you know, when it first came out. I really was a blubbering mess, just because I think the main guy was based on Dursley McClendon. Somebody said that to me, and of course Jill is in it, Jill Nader, and she was. I remember like thinking at the time, who is this girl, Jill? Oh, she's in Les Mis. Oh, well, she sort of seems like she's like everyone's mum. Like she's looking after us all. And why? What is she? She's helped. Right. Okay. Yeah. So and I mean, I didn't know the extent to what Jill did, and that after Les Mis at night, she would go to the hospitals and sit with people, and all the stuff that she does actually deserve, like, you know, an award.
Yeah.
But as you just said, it was the most unbelievable sense of community. We didn't have iPhones. We didn't have even mobiles. We used to spend every moment we could, really, being with each other, supporting each other, hanging out after the shows. We didn't go back and you know, we weren't like this. Our lives were different. We were with each other.
Yeah.
And when when AIDS came around, it made us even more together, I feel. I remember doing so many concerts. There was particularly a little club by Seven Dials. It was down some steps, and you know, we used to spend so much time down there, and there was nothing that we wouldn't do for each other. It made me feel, it's making me feel upset. It was, oh my god, it was so special. It was so innocent. It was so loving. It was so, we were so together and so supportive. Yeah.
And I think that it's for someone who, as I said before, knows what shoulders he stands on. He knows what has happened before him, and for him to be able to who he is, and for there to be no shame, as the shame was that the character Jan spoke about, so the mom in It's a Sin. I think that it's such an important part of history right now, and to have it portrayed in a way, warts and all, and also the love and the good and I think it was just a brilliant piece of drama, and I wanted to ask you about it because I think it's
and I also love the way that your generation, and maybe generations either side of you, I just love it that they can see what happened, you know. They can get more of a sense of what we went through, and why we're such a community. Things like you know, the Drag Race on the telly, and all those programs. I mean, they're just all so wonderful. But we've had that in our lives since I guess, well, for me, I guess early to mid 80s. Yeah. I mean, Follies was 86, but Chess was 85. Richard Sampson was in Chess. He passed away. Tom Job was the arbiter. I went on to do a TV series with him in Hamburg. He disappeared. No one knew he was ill. He was the most American. He was the most amazing dancer and person, you know. Martin Smith, who wrote a song for me that I performed for West End Cares. There's an album that you can look it up on Spotify. East River Calling, and you know, it was just another time, and I just love it that you guys, when I mean you guys, I mean people that weren't around then are getting a sense of just how incredible that time was. You know, I used to spend so much time with Dursley, and I hope Nicholas Grace doesn't mind this. He used to go out with Nicholas Grace, the actor, and Nicholas had this amazing flat by Hampstead Heath. It overlooked Hampstead Heath, and Dursey and I used to do follies, and then we used to go back to his flat and listen to Barbra Streisand, and we used to sleep together. I mean, if we'd have been a little bit more drunk, you know, I kind of shudder to think what could have happened, because he ended up, you know, passing away. He was the most beautiful man. Wow.
Anyway, let's turn it completely on its head. One of my favourite things that you have ever been a part of is Acorn Antiquities. It is the joy. It is what we need right now. I don't understand why it's not on BBC Two at 9 o'clock on a Thursday night. People need to see it. Being in that production and playing Miss Berta, which is a role that, you know, Victoria Wood wrote for herself and did it in like the Acorn Antique sketches. What was the most daunting part of playing that role? And did Victoria give you complete license to do what you needed to do?
Gosh, wow. You've opened a little bit of a can of worms. Vic was one of the most talented people I've ever met. She also knew exactly what she wanted.
Yeah. And
to the point where it was very hard at times to sort of be playing her because she had done it so brilliantly, but you know, I'm not her, and I'm a different beast to her.
Yeah.
So I guess that was, but kind of looking back on it, very funny all in the same breath, because, you know, the talent that she had and what she knew works, you know, she sort of struggled to tell you, and in her way of telling you, you'd be like, my God, I mean, I'm not a robot, you know, I can only, but she was right. She was all right. Yeah. So I guess that was hard. What was the question? What was
like the most joyous part about playing that character?
The most joyous thing for me, the long run joy, if you like, looking back on it now, is my long lasting relationship with Celia Imrie. She, my friend. We text each other and call each other sis always, and I mean, there's just no one else like her on the planet.
Well, we've had a phone in from a girl called Jenna Boyd. Don't know if you know her. Jenna Boyd, whatever. No, Jenna Boyd, and she says, make sure you ask Sally about the wink.
The wink. Yeah. So we're on stage, Jenna and I've forgotten his name. I'm so sorry. Her partner in crime.
Hugh.
So sorry. And Celia and myself. Celia, after doing the show for like 5 months, she still had her lashes put on in the interval by the wiggy. And I mean, I caught her at it one day. I said, why are you doing her lashes?
Gareth Bryan.
What was it?
Gareth Bryan.
That's it, Gareth. Thank you so much. Seals looked up at me. She went, darling, I can't do lashes. I mean, she's used to like sitting on film sets and people doing, you know, and I kind of came out of the womb with lashes on, you know, and I was like, oh my God. Anyway, we're on stage, the four of us. And I look at Seals, and her lash is like sort of like a cross, like this, like starts okay, and then it's like goes down. And I look at her and I say, like, okay. And she turns away from me, and she comes back. And as she comes back, she's organised it, and it's like that. And the lash, I hope this is the story Jen is thinking about. And the lash is completely over her eye. How she doesn't know it's over her eye. And she's just like, better, like this. I'm like, Yeah, better. Yeah.
I think that's a brilliant story. But Jenna was talking about that you were on stage and she got something in her eye and she was winking and you thought she was winking at you and then you winked back and then.
Oh, really? Oh, I do remember that. I do remember. The thing is that show one afternoon, Saturday afternoon. Oh, for goodness sake, my brain, Mrs. Overall,
Julie Walters.
Julie says, I want everyone to either eat or mention a fruit or a vegetable at tomorrow's matinee. This was on Friday night. We were like, we either had to eat or say something. So I had a little, as Berta at the beginning of this thing, I had a little bag of chopped up peppers. And I was like, I'm Berta. And then Seals, they went around the room and they all had to introduce themselves. And Seals was like, yes, well, first job, second sprout from the left on Scottish play, and we all got into trouble for doing it. So like, it was such a great show to be part of.
I think it's for someone who loved the documentary, again, never got to see it live, but to watch the documentary on ITV and to somehow see bits of it coming together and then see it on the BAFTAs. And then, of course, the DVD came out. And, I mean, you know how...
Telly.
Pardon?
DVD on the telly. They should just, like, air it properly, you know?
It. A tribute to Victoria, and it's just a beautiful cup of joy. The lyrics. But what I also love about your particular role in the show, I think you're like one of the only people that has like a pathos song.
I know. On the first day of rehearsals, Trevor Nunn came up to me very quietly and he said, you have probably one of the best songs in the show. Well, in fact, I think he said, you've got the best song in the show. You're a very lucky girl. And she wrote that about her husband, so I'm sure she wouldn't mind me saying that. Well, I hope so. She wrote, so it was... Yeah. There was such truth in it. And it was very unusual for Acorn Antiques to... I mean, they never had it in the TV thing. It wasn't that. No. But all of a sudden, there was this little character that was really vulnerable and it like kind of popped out as I've sung it in cabaret. Beautiful.
And it's that as again being a Wood fan, that writing as well as it being so hard hitting, it's so normal the way everything's it's so clever. I can't talk about it so clever, but also I could talk about this show forever because it has got me through some dark times. It's so good. It's so joyous. I told Stephen Mear this. You got me through my musical theatre tap because I'm not very good at tap, but I can do the tip tap top from top to finish, literally all the arms, everything, top to finish. But that's such a beautiful show that you're a part of.
I have one other story for you. I think I might have told you to this on the phone, but I think it's a wonderful to anyone who's listening. We were doing the Les Miserables section, and Julie Walters is going, and Seals is like being, fabulous with her whore and her boa, and Duncan's there and everything, and and then we all die. So we're all dead and we're all lying on the floor and we're rehearsing, and Trevor Nunn says, okay, everyone, that's a tea break. And we all got up to make a cup of tea, except Julie Walters, who had been having a real trouble sleeping, and she'd fallen asleep. So Julie Walters was now Dame Julie Walters. Julie Walters was fast asleep, and we all spent the next 15 minutes, because we had like a 15-minute tea break, going, do you want sugar? And we all tiptoed around, everyone in the whole room, covering the sound of the kettle so that she could get 15 minutes of sleep.
Oh, I love that.
Is amazing.
That's another thing that I remember vividly from the documentaries, that she's always asleep in rehearsals.
Always asleep. She couldn't sleep at night. She was so wonderful to me. Every night that I sang that Remind Him, my ballad, I would come off in the wings, stage left, and her entrance was stage left, and she was on next. And she used to come up to me, and I'm not exaggerating, she did this every single night for whatever, 5-6 months, she used to come up to me and say, "That was just beautiful, Sally. That was just beautiful." I mean, every night, like, it was crazy. She was so wonderful, so giving.
So wonderful. From the bizarre to, you know, Sondheim, doing Sweeney Todd.
Yeah.
Off Broadway in this intimate, immersive theatre, and, you know, you could get pies before you were proper in the moment. Do you find that more daunting because you're literally nose to nose, or do you feel it more relaxed?
It's a real funny one. When I first went in, I'd seen the show with my friend Siobhan McCarthy. I saw it when they first got there. I auditioned for it, didn't get it, but then the next time I auditioned, I got it. So I'd seen the show, so I knew what it was. When you first go in there and you know that you've got to perform in there, it's like nothing else I've ever been through. It's this mixture of loving the challenge that as an actor, you cannot hide anything.
Mm-mm.
And then also that part of you that's like, oh, it's, you know, a midweek matinee and I really just want to kind of blend in at the back just for this one little bit. You never could. You never ever. I mean, of course, Lovett can't really anyway because she's like so. But it was the most extraordinary thing to be a part of. I'm so glad that I had Tom Sesma playing Sweeney because we fitted like a glove. We went for the emotion of it, both of us. I mean, he was unbelievable.
Did you enjoy playing a role that I would like? She's the protagonist. She knows all. She's. I'd say she's the evil one because she knows all the stories. She knows what she's doing. So when you approach a role like that, that is so depth and has got so much grit and dirt to her. How do you process going about? Oh, how do we make by the sea funny? Like how do you process that?
The only thing you can do, and it's the thing that I do with every single part I've ever played. When I did Grisabella, I did the same thing that I did with Grisabella, I did with Lucy and Snoopy, and the same thing I did with Lucy, I did with Sweeney Todd, which is you just look for the truth in whatever you're playing. And for me, playing Lovett was everything she did was driven by the fact that she just loved Sweeney.
Yeah.
And not only loved, was obsessed, like literally obsessed with him, and I'd never forgotten it. And you know, and as soon as he comes back that day after all those years, she wants him and she wants to keep him and she doesn't care what it is.
No. For someone who loves Sondheim, similar to me, there is always lyrics. I did it 10 years ago at college, and I played the baker. I still remember motifs. I remember wordplay. What's the one little Sondheim earworm from Sweeney that you will never forget?
Oh, well, firstly, take the lyrics out of it. The beginning of the show, just that is just wow. It makes me feel shivery thinking about it. As my daughter said when she came to see it, she said it just puts you somewhere. It puts you in a place, and it puts you in an atmosphere, and you don't need any lyrics because it's kind of done it for you.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of lyrics, I think one of the bits that I used to really, I just felt like, God, I'm so in this, like you can't like not be in this moment. I'm your friend too, Mr. Todd. That little bit where he gets the knife, and it's the beginning it's the beginning of this journey of I could have him, like I'm kind of, now I've given him that, he's gonna need me, and I'm gonna manipulate, and I'm gonna love, and I'm gonna it was like you couldn't help but just be so desperate with it. I love it.
Yeah, I think to see you, I would love to have seen you play a role that is something that I would never associate my Sally Ann Triplett. Said my my Sally Ann Triplett with, which is so like so far removed from the smile and the cheese, like not cheese, but like the camp and the
showbiz,
showbiz, so a bit
kind
more
of
gritty.
And all that stuff. That they are actually the parts that I look for now.
Yeah.
Because I'm not that girl anymore. I crave the character. That's what I look for.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Tell me the little story about Chicago and a particular blonde wig.
Auditioning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, Chicago, like, I think all actors have this one story where they didn't get a job. They knew they were right for the job. They tried again. They didn't get the job. But there's always my story of that is Chicago. So I got after Ruthie did the original London, I got offered to take over from her, and I had taken, and they bought me bits of costume, they measured me, they gave me wigs, and I had this amazing photo shoot, those black and white pictures that I did in the very beginning. And I was in Cats at the time, and every night I'd go into Covent Garden and people would be like, oh my God, Sal, I heard the news, it's so amazing, and you're like, it's like perfect for you. At the 11th hour, I mean literally the 11th hour, I was told they were giving it to somebody that had won an award. Which was not, I couldn't really process it. It didn't make any sense to me. I was like, well, how does that make them like more suited or whatever? Anyway, I swallowed it and carried on. Maybe a year later, I auditioned for it again. I didn't get it. Maybe a year after that, maybe 2 years after that, my agent was now like, Sal, I'd be like, oh no, please don't tell me. I know what you're saying. Yes, they want to see you again. So I went to my wiggy friend and I got a platinum blonde wig, and I wore a blonde wig, and I went into the audition room, and Walter Bobby was sitting behind the desk, the original director.
Yeah.
And I went up to him and he went, Sally, they were all like, what? Who's this? And I said something like, I went up to him and really confident. I was like, I have literally nothing to lose. Shook his hand and I said, hi, apparently blondes have more fun. Let's also hope they have more luck. Like this, something like that. So I did because I was auditioning for Velma and Roxy.
Yeah.
So I did my Velma audition, and all that chat, I did all that. And then they said, can we see your Roxy stuff? I said, give me 2 minutes. I ran out of the room, took all the wig off, like scrunched my hair up, like kind of like I've got it now, went back in, and then I was a brunette. Yeah, it was, I still didn't get the job. Still didn't get it. And then I did Anything Goes. I kind of showed a few more people who I was, and won a couple of little awards for that, and they phoned me up and offered it to me. So in the end, it is basically how many awards you got. Followers you got.
Literally. So being in that incredible production and playing Roxy, was there any drama with the ladder?
I hate that ladder.
It stresses me out.
Oh, I just don't know. I could never feel really comfortable up there. I don't know why. Did I have any drama with it? I don't think I did. I hated when it used to swing. I'd be like, oh God, I don't want to. But I did do Chicago with Wonder Woman, with the Wonder Woman. And yeah, she didn't really like it that I had the biggest dressing room. Yeah, and I mean, I won't go down that road. But yeah, I didn't like the ladder. I love the show.
Love the show, didn't like the ladder.
Yeah.
Another incredible musical that you're a part of, which got a massive cult following similar to Chicago, is Mamma Mia. And when I spoke to a certain Kim Ismay,
who's that?
Never heard of her. Kimberly Ismay. She says, make sure you ask Sally about our jolly to Paris.
Oh, well, I did Mamma Mia for 6 months. Lindsay Haitley was doing it, and she wanted a break.
Yeah.
So this break, and I went and I just did 6 months, and I had a lovely time. I met Neve Perry. She was my daughter. I love her. Then I came out of it, and Lindsay did the rest of the 6 months. And then I got invited to go back into it with Joe Monroe and Kim Ismay. And then it was like kind of like I'd never done it before. All of a sudden I thought, oh, I see. I get it now. I get the show. I get the story. Because I have these two.
Yeah.
And we were so close. I mean, we still are, but we just not seeing each other. We decided to go to Paris for the day. We ended up going another time, and we ended up staying the night. But during the run, we went to Paris for the day on the Sunday, and we got up to the Sacré-Cœur, and we sat, and we had mussels and frites, and Joe and Kim were like, oh, well, let's have a bottle of Voignon, whatever it's called. And I went, oh no, I'm not. Well, I'm not drinking. I've got to do all those songs this week. And then for about 20 minutes, I was like, oh, bugger that. And drinking, and we had the most wonderful time. And when I look at clips of Mamma Mia, when you put that clip up of the three of us, it just brings back the most happiest memories for me, because of those two, really.
Yeah. And I think that, again, Mamma Mia is such a feel-good musical, and it's got I sometimes feel like it can be overlooked, and that's Mamma Mia, but it does what it says on the tin. It's so moving, and people love it time after time after time. Another show that you were part of involving that particular creative team was Viva Forever, which had the biggest press night in the history of press nights.
Wow, what a party that was.
What a party. There is that iconic picture that was on every newspaper on the next day with you and Jerry, you in the dress.
Yeah.
Her Union Jack dress. Now, my question is simply...
I still got that dress. My dress, yeah.
My question is simply, why don't you think it found an audience as quickly as it should have?
Okay, I'm going to try and be diplomatic. The thing is the Spice Girls music is amazing.
Yep.
Is amazing. It's so poppy. It's so of its time.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't think... I feel that I wish we'd have had some more meat on the bones, so that it could have been thought of in a more of a classy, and we didn't... Well, I say we, it wasn't nothing to do with me, but we would sell, cocktails in the interval, which is fine. Obviously you want to make money and stuff, but we were appealing to a particular audience that didn't really care. And so the show ended up just turning into something a bit grimy at times. And it could be, I still think it could be brilliant.
Yeah.
Especially
with, Jennifer Saunders writing and the music. Anyway, moving swiftly on to Broadway, darling. From Never Forget to Neverland.
Neverland. Okay, yeah, Finding Neverland.
There's so much you've done. You've done. I can't fit it all in. Carrie, you've done on Broadway. That with Lindsay Haitley and Betty Buckley. So much you've done. So I'm just cramming it all in.
Okay.
So
for Tom at 6 o'clock. Don't forget.
I won't forget.
Yeah.
So Neverland. So magic. Being on Broadway. What is the main difference from a Broadway audience to a West End audience?
In terms of, okay, they laugh at everything. Like, they laugh at things that are really not funny. I just can't believe it. Like, what is going on? you know, we work so differently to Americans. Americans work so differently to us. And after having lived there for like 6.5 years, I really wish that we could kind of come together a bit more in and learn from each other. The audiences there are, it's their heritage, musicals especially, it's their baby.
Yeah.
So you cannot take that away from them, and you wouldn't want to, because they do it so brilliantly. I remember seeing Producers on Broadway when it first came out, and I saw Chicago when it first came out, and you cannot fault them. They have the kick, they have the notes, they have the sparkle, they have the pizzazz, they have the funnies, the, you know. But we have so many qualities in us, in this country, that they don't have. And I think we could, even in terms of auditioning for things, and you know, when I first got there, I would be auditioning for things, and you walk in the room and no one would even look up at you, and they would expect you to know it, and they would expect you to do it and be amazing, and be. Whereas here, you kind of walk in, they're like, "Hi, how did you get?" Like, it's much more comfortable, and it's more the show of business over there. But you know, the audiences are amazing. The tickets are so much money.
Yeah, they are.
Your show, you invest in it as an audience member. Whereas I think not now, Pete. But I think that we're a bit more like, oh, I got this ticket for 25 quid. Yeah. I don't really know what I think of it. And whereas in New York, they're like, oh my God, did you see that show the other day? Did you know, I'll go into supermarkets, and here I have heard 2 old women in the aisle go, well, I saw the show, but I mean, did you like her in it? I didn't like her in it. I liked the other thing she did.
Speaking of liking her in it, Anything Goes. Anything Goes was and is one of my favourite cast recordings that you're on. It's one of my favourite things that I can remember as a young boy waiting up late. People will know this. Theatre people will know that you wait up till about 10:30, 11, and then all the West End shows come on Children in Need. I remember watching your performance. I remember having the cast album, the blue cast album with the ship at the front, being in that production and having such, I mean, people adored you in that role. What was the hardest thing about playing Rena Sweeney?
Oh, just my bloody knee. That's the only thing. I just wish I hadn't had this knee injury. Yeah. And then I can say to you, nothing was wrong. Yeah. I had a bit of and it was because the Drury Lane stage is a rake.
Yeah.
It's one of the biggest rakes in the West End. I was tapping in heels, and I did a lot of dancing in it. It wasn't like EP when EP did, sorry, but I did a lot of dancing, and I did all the duet stuff. I feel out of all the things I've done in my life that was just the perfect thing. I auditioned for it at the National, and when I went to the front desk to go through and be auditioned, Stephen Mear was at the audition. There was my name, and underneath was John Barrowman, and we were the only 2 parts yet to be cast, and we were the only 2 people they saw that day. It was very odd, and it was 2 weeks from the first day of rehearsals. My dad passed away on the first day of rehearsals, and I think because I was in this world of thinking about my dad and everything, I just did what I thought it was. I listened to Patty before I went. I listened to her kind of, you know, times have changed. I listened to the way that she just didn't like care, and it just came out. And I just thought, I'm just going to do that. And I did my singing. And then Stephen, who I knew from Follies, he was like, well, here comes my mum. She's coming out to stand on the balcony. Stephen did a bit of tap with me, and that was it. I remember doing You're the Top with John Barrowman, and I remember it was practically full for a year, the Drury Lane, and there's these 4 levels and when you on stage and it's full, there's no other feeling like it. And I remember doing You're the Top in my amazing green costume.
Yeah.
And with that.
Anthony Powell.
Anthony Powell. Oh my God, oh my God, what a man. And I remember I had this, I know it sounds stupid, but I've never had it before or since. So it was kind of a big deal. I had this kind of out of body experience where I was watching myself do this number. And I thought to myself, it'll never get any better than this moment right now.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I doubt if I'll ever, well, I hope I do, but it was like it's just the perfect storm. I felt like I was in an MGM film every night, and it was wonderful.
And do you still have your dad's comb?
My dad's comb?
Yeah, isn't that your good luck thing?
Yeah, I've got it in my makeup bag.
I love that. Right,
Yeah.
Mummy Lane says, ask Sally about the naughty pictures that she wrote in the autograph book.
I don't know.
Evelyn Oakley used to ask for your autograph and used to write rude things in there.
Oh, right. So, I see. Yeah, on the God, he remembers everything. That
He's
man,
brilliant.
I had to. Even it would say, "Oh, I do love you, Rita Sweeney. Would you sign my book?" And I'd like drew a picture of a willy or something. Really, that's nothing compared to John Barrowman.
Oh, rude. Bad.
Oh, he's had enough airtime.
And also a particular bit where you used to wave at your husband, and then suddenly it became a massive deal, and people were in fly floors and red carpets.
It was amazing. So Gary was in the show for about 6 months at Drury Lane, and every night when I came off from You're the Top, they started doing this thing where him and a group of the actors, because everyone just hung about backstage because it's such a big stage, they would all stand there and wave at me, but they wouldn't say anything. They would all just stand there and wave at me, and I was like, that's weird. Well, hello. Every single night when I came off from You're the Top, they were in a different place, standing, waving at me. Sometimes they'd be way back, just waving. It was very weird. Then I came off one night and I was like, where are they? And I looked up and they were way up high in the gantry, looking down, waving at me. One time they made this kind of like red carpet thing, and they all waved at me, and at the end somebody gave me a bouquet of flowers. One time I went into my dressing room, I couldn't find them anywhere. Gary had filmed them waving, and it was on my television.
I love it.
Yeah, another time I came off, they weren't anywhere to be seen. They were all outside of my dressing room, outside in the sort of courtyard of my dressing room, waving like that. Yeah, it was mad.
Sally, what if you could take? Obviously, your favourite moment is that moment in the top. You're the Top. That moment where you feel like it's not going to get any better. But what was your favourite costume, Anthony Powell? Let's very quickly. What was one of the costumes that you just loved wearing?
Oh my God,
they were beautiful.
I loved that green outfit. I just adored it. The opening, they're all amazing. The opening coat, because it was so simple, it was that beautiful cream coat, but a jaunty red French beret,
yeah,
but with a black and white polka dot scarf.
So clever.
And the little heels and the little bag. The next number I've got it in my house. He gave it to me as a leaving gift, the monkey tails. So I had that kind of amazing hat with this Versace material with this like cloak over it, and the dressing gown in Act 2 for Gypsy and Me.
Yeah.
They were the end Chinese dress with the split.
Everything.
All of it.
Right, quick 5 questions. Are you ready?
Yep.
Hot or cold?
Oh, hot.
Walk or run?
Walk.
Dance or sing?
Dance.
Give or receive?
Give.
Have meat or veg?
Oh, both. Sorry, I like a bit of both.
Night in or night out?
Night in.
Coffee or tea?
Both.
Only you can get away with both. Play or musical?
Actually, play.
Lily Savage or RuPaul?
Lily Savage.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Beyonce or Celine?
Celine, I think.
Hugs or kisses?
Hug.
Day or night?
Night.
Sondheim or Weber?
What's that?
Sondheim or Weber?
Who?
Stephen Sondheim or Andrew Lloyd Webber?
Oh my God. Sondheim.
Um,
Areas.
Peters or Lapone?
Who's the first one?
Bernadette Peters.
Oh, Peters. I thought you said peaches. Peters or Lapone. I'd go with. All right, Murray. I'd go with Lapone.
That's the right answer. You move to the next round. What's the best performance that you've ever seen live?
It would be Albert Finney in Orphans.
Go-to shower song?
Turn down the lights, turn down the bed.
Dream role?
Kiss the Spider-Woman.
Yes! Brilliant show. Biggest onstage mishap?
Full wee during Viva Forever. Full wee.
Go-to cast album?
Jesus Christ Superstar.
Favourite sweet?
If that was Peter Pulicapio again. Go back on that question.
Favourite sweet?
Those bananas that you get
Yep.
at the spa.
Favourite month of the year?
I think it's May.
Favourite sound?
A rain.
Favourite smell?
Petrol.
Favourite drink?
It's kind of water, really.
Favourite movie?
All About Eve.
All About Eve. It's going to be a bumpy night. Me and you in a time machine can go and see any musical ever made, ever in the history of the world. What are we seeing?
What, live?
Yeah.
I think we'll go back. Do you know what I want us to go and see? I want us to go and see Golden Boy with Sammy Davis Jr. on Broadway.
Yeah. Best night you've spent in a theatre watching a show? Just like the joy of it.
Probably Producers.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
What's your most unpopular musical opinion?
I don't like singing really screechy high. I don't
Sally
like
Ann
it.
Triplett, you are a goddess. I cannot believe my luck that little Adam, who used to watch you on the television and have the DVDs, talk to you now. And people just adore you, Sally, and long may you reign. I cannot wait to see you live in person again in a show. My last question before I let you go is, what would be the name of your autobiography?
It's only a show.
Sally Ann Triplett, thank you so much.
You're a legend too, and long may you reign. You're very, 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 very good at this, and you make people feel very comfortable. And what a joy. Let's all go and clap Tom, and what a joy to be with you.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Sally.
Bye.
Yes, soon.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Bye.